We are on the eve of the primary there. As you know, New York is very much a Democrat enclave. Yeah, something like 80% of voters in the 5 boroughs vote Democrat, give or take. And so if you win the Democrat primary, you're going to be the next mayor of New York. I think that is clear. And they have ranked choice as well. So you put your number 1 and then your number 2 and your 3. It's you go down this whole rabbit hole of ranked choice. Cuomo had been the candidate that Clay has been saying is going to win. Clay, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to win. It's looking a little shaky here. Your whole comeback theory, it might, it's looking a little tough a little bit.
How bad your home city of New York City has gotten that the best case scenario for the city at this point seems to be one of the worst governors during COVID who sent people into nursing homes to effectively die, who got everything wrong and had to resign in shame because of sexual harassment, is infinitely the best choice that Democrats could pick, and that they actually have a far worse decision that may be made.
This is like if Gavin Newsom was running for mayor of New York and he was up against a lunatic socialist, I guess Gavin Newsom would be a better choice too. I mean, Gavin Newsom and Cuomo to me are very similar on the COVID record. I mean, just both absolutely awful.
When you see this as a born and raised New York City resident who finally got fed up and moved to Miami, but you have a lot of family and friends in New York City.
Yeah.
Do you take it as validation for the fact that leaving was the right call, or are you more resigned and sad that New York City could be in a position this bad?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. I half my family still lives in New York and in Manhattan. And, we have our studio in Manhattan, which you and I both make pilgrimages to on a regular basis. Not that regular New York tax man, but
I was gonna say, be careful.
Once in a rare while in my case, but Clay is not so much on the radar because he never lived in New York. But I will say this: this is we need to describe this Mamdani guy in a second. We'll give you some updates on who this guy is. Our friend Carol Markowitz, who's one of our podcast hosts in the Clay and Buck Network, it's just a great show. Longtime New Yorker like me, moved to Florida like me also, and right around the same time I did. And she says, because I like to tell stories about the old days in the early 90s, where there was just crime everywhere, graffiti everywhere, people getting robbed, people getting mugged, totally normal, no one even noticed. People in my school, we had to get a security guard posted outside of my Catholic school on the Upper East Side, which is among, and at the time was definitely the nicest, I would argue, Upper West, Upper East parts of the city, because so many kids, Clay, they're talking about grammar school kids were getting robbed, by young gang members were showing up and they were, saying, run your pockets and take all your stuff. Anyway, it was crazy. Well, I mean, I say this stuff out loud. No one believes it. But you look at the numbers. You had 2,100 homicides in 1990, 1991. 2,100 homicides in New York City. Carol Markowitz said this, though. It's brilliant insight. The difference between then and now is that then even Democrats agreed that crime was a bad thing that you want to get rid of. Now, it may have taken them too long to figure out how to do it, but they wanted to do it. Now I'm not so sure about that. Now I think that they've been convinced that the true leftist, socialist, maniac Democrats out there, like this Mamdani guy, they think that crime is like the cry of the oppressed or something, and that this is something that society just has to accept. And that is terrifying. Let me give you an example. Here is Mamdani. This is the guy who is now ahead in the polls to be mayor of New York. Okay. He's ahead of Cuomo, to be clear, as of today. This is back in 2020. New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, play 36.
Do you think that we have to almost do without policing in certain areas, which are labeled as being high crimes, to have alternative bodies do the policing in a more compassionate, more merciful, more social, assisting and helping more than arresting and putting in jail?
I absolutely think that what we need to do is give support and funding to institutions that are trained to deal with these kinds of issues. Mm-hmm. As you said, if you're having an argument with someone and there's a risk of it escalating, who is better positioned to de-escalate it? Someone who is well known in the community, or someone who has been trained specifically in de-escalation, or a stranger who has a gun?
Yeah, who wants that job? Who wants to be the first time? This is living in an alternate universe. But there was talk about this for violence interrupters. They were calling this. We're going to have somebody who will negotiate between the gangs. No, the gangs are shooting each other over drug territory because that's what they do. And if you don't have a gun, they're going to shoot you too.
Yeah, and look, this guy, I believe we have another cut that just kind of gives you a sense of how crazy this guy is. And he may be the next mayor of New York City. And if you're wondering what's the timing on this, tomorrow is officially primary day, right? I believe New York City staff, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this. Tomorrow is officially primary day. They have been doing early voting every day up to the 24th. And I believe tomorrow is Democrat primary day. So this is the day when everybody's going to go out and be making the decisions. Buck, this guy said that he wants to launch government-run supermarkets in New York City if he's elected mayor. This is how crazy this guy is. This is Mamdani. And again, the primary is tomorrow, so this will be decided in short order. And there's the ranked choice primary voting and everything else, so it's a messy situation. But a lot of you out there listening, this is the first major election that we will have seen since Trump was elected about 6 months ago. Here he is saying, hey, we need government-run supermarkets like we're in Russia back in the 1980s. Listen.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zahran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you.
You know where you're really going to be able to trust the meat quality? You know where you're really going to be able to know that you're getting the best delivery of that produce and you can count on it? The DMV grocery store. That's where you really want to be. You want unaccountable government bureaucrats to be in charge of picking the freshest fish to put out on the counter. That's going to work out great. Clay, this guy is offering people bread lines.
Yes.
And they're voting for it.
Again, this is why I think everybody should have to go walk through the streets of Cuba, because you're down in South Florida and a lot of our listeners have family in Cuba. Go see what government-run supermarkets in Cuba look like. See what's available on the shelves. See how long you have to stand in line to try and buy these products. This is an actual ad that he's running.
It's an ad he's running now, but it's so stupid too. This is like when people complain about the gas station. You've pointed this out. The profit margin on gas is tiny. The profit margin that grocery stores have to make,
yes,
that they make, is like 1 or 2%. But because everyone has to buy groceries to live, basically. If you're in a neighborhood where there are people, yes, you're going to make money. But this idea that the fat cats are somehow just extracting from everybody because the price of eggs is the price of eggs because of the demand versus the supply. The idiot socialists who have no understanding of economics or history keep making these same arguments. This guy's backed by AOC. He's backed by Bernie Sanders. He's horrible on crime. He's horrible on the economy. I mean, everything that New York City needs help with, this guy is going to be a disaster on. And but you know what? He'll be the first Muslim mayor of New York City. They can talk about diversity. They can talk about inclusion. And they can talk about caring about the poor while he wants to create 200,000 new housing units. Okay. How's that going to go? Where's that money going to come from? And what are those housing units going to be like? You know, you start to look at this. You know what people generally don't get excited about? Living in government housing projects in New York. You know why? Because they're generally not very nice. And they never increase in real estate value because they're projects.
Did you see what Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida said, sharing a story about this guy's platform? This is going to be great for property values in Palm Beach. That's what the
I
governor
didn't see
Ron
that,
DeSantis
but
said.
it's totally true. It's totally true. We're just going to keep it. You know that New York has lost. What do you remember? What the figure is? I think it was $13 billion is what I saw.
Oh, the
revenue.
percentage of people, and this is so important, and I think a lot of people still haven't recognized it. I live in Tennessee. You live in Florida. A lot of you out there live in Texas. When you have no state income tax, it makes a difference if you make $75 or $80 or $100,000 a year. If you make $10 million a year or something like that, like a lot of these hedge fund and private equity guys do, you're talking about putting an extra $1 million in your pocket over the course of 1 year. And they found out now we can live anywhere. Why would we give that to the state of New York?
This is also a way of saying, and you don't have to make even $10 million. I mean, you look at this, you're talking about New York City, it's 14%. For a lot of people, if you're let's say you're making $1 million a year, which isn't as much as it used to be, but if you make $1 million a year, you're saving $140,000 on your taxes. For a lot of people, that covers a lot of their living expense. Yeah. So the state, it's like, Clay, imagine this. Well, you actually have the same thing. It's like the state of Tennessee is saying, hey, Clay, you don't have to pay your rent. You don't have to pay for your food. We'll cover that for you if you live here. Yeah. That's what it's like for people who leave New York to go to Texas, Tennessee, Florida.
In my neighborhood, Buck, the number of people that have abandoned Florida, that have abandoned Illinois, that have abandoned New York over state and local taxes and actually can pay almost their entire mortgage just based off the money that they're saving on those taxes is massive. And the more money you have, the more flexibility you have to be able to live anywhere. So the people that New York's losing, that Illinois is losing, that California is losing, are the biggest taxpayers that are funding all of this crazy government expense. And at some point, that becomes an issue. And I'm afraid New York City is starting to figure that out.
Summertime is grilling season. The nights are warm and plenty of daylight left after you get home from work. All you need are the steaks, the burgers, the chicken, the hot dogs, and you get the best of all of that from our friends at Good Ranchers. So if you plan today ahead of July 4th, you can fill your fridge with some of the best tasting meat and chicken grown on American farms by American ranchers. This is Good Ranchers, my friends. Carrie and I just got our latest delivery of Good Ranchers last week. Clay was here for the Good Ranchers Summit, where I just made a whole big steak dinner for like 8 of us, all eating Good Ranchers steaks. It was absolutely delicious. No antibiotics, no hormones, no seed oils, pure delicious steaks, burgers, and chicken. If you subscribe to any Good Ranchers box this week, you'll get your pick of free meat for life. That's free Wagyu burgers, hot dogs, bacon, or chicken wings in every box for the lifetime of your purchase, of your subscription, rather. Use my name, Buck, as your promo code at checkout. Get an extra $40 off your first box. Visit GoodRanchers.com. Use my name, Buck, at checkout to get your free meat for life plus $40 off. GoodRanchers.com. American meat delivered.